that other song, Let It Rain, that his wife sings.
Yes.
That always.
Yeah. Now, getting back to, again, I'm following my notes. Now, in the Bible, there's a commanded blessing, and it says that if we live a life that honors God, blessings will chase us down. And I believe that song totally gives that to us. And for me, I see those that, in those instances when you don't see those blessings, they are chasing you down, because we're supposed to be looking ahead. We're supposed to be focusing on Him, not looking from behind. And that's where I see that they're coming from our trials and those instances that they're now catching up with us. But
Katie, can I make a comment on that?
yes.
I think sometimes we as Christians look at the promises of God and we see them as absolute, when in reality I think they're principles. That what you just read is, if I pursue God with all my heart, He will command these blessings. The blessings will follow me. And so sometimes we get really excited and wrapped up in, well, He's promising me blessings. He's not really promising me blessings. Right. What He's telling me is, if I pursue Him with all my heart, I will experience blessing.
Yes.
But sometimes we jump the first part because we're so attracted to the second part.
Right.
And we're like holding Him accountable. Now, you promised me blessings, but we don't hold ourselves accountable. Am I really pursuing the heart of God?
Right.
Yeah.
Which will then put me in under the covering of His blessings.
Yeah.
I don't think His blessings are a response to our actions. I think our actions should be a response to the blessings that He offers us. And so I'm not trying, you're doing a great job teaching, but I think it's important that we don't minimize our part in that, is that we've got to be faithful and obedient and
Absolutely.
repentant.
Yes.
And as a result of that, that pulls our heart in underneath His blessings.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You're awesome with that. I love it. See, some days I go, why am I up here? But
You're doing great. You're doing super
thank you. But in there, as they're chasing us down and we don't see them, that I went to the beach a couple weeks ago just to kind of refocus, just kind of get the family away. Even though it was super cold, we went and walked on it, walked on the sand. We did not put our toes in the water because it was way too cold. But we found the seashells and we just enjoyed what the sea gave us that day. But I see them as those waves that are coming at you, and sometimes there's that undertow. I see that. There she is. Yep, there's girlfriend. She's like, all right, now you're going to feed me. But as those waves are coming, and sometimes they're so large that they just engulf you, or that undertow just sweeps you under. And it's just the fierceness of them sometimes that, for me, it just is sometimes overwhelming, just bringing in under that covering. It's knowing I'm just so undeserving of it, or that we're undeserving of it, that the only way that happens is through Him. And then you'll find, which takes me, or you'll find in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 14. It's long, you may want to break it up.
Well, tell me if you want me to stop.
Okay, but it's a list of the blessings that the Lord kind of gives us in those times that, as we are responsible for our part, that He has for us in doing our part. So
28, I'm sorry.
1
through 14?
Yes.
Okay.
If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully keep all His commands that I am giving you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the world. You will experience all these blessings if you obey the Lord your God. Your towns and your fields will be blessed. Your children and your crops will be blessed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be blessed. Your fruit baskets and breadboards will be blessed. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be blessed. The Lord will conquer your enemies when they attack you. They will attack you from one direction, but they will scatter from you in 7. The Lord will guarantee a blessing on everything you do, and will fill your storehouses with grain. The Lord your God will bless you in the land He is giving you. If you obey the commands of the Lord your God and walk in His ways, The Lord will establish you as his holy people, as he swore he would do. Then all the nations of the world will see that you are a people claimed by the Lord, and they will stand in awe of you. The Lord will give you prosperity in the land he swore to your ancestors to give you, blessing you with many children, numerous livestock, and abundant crops. The Lord will send rain at the proper time from his rich treasury in the heavens, and will bless all the work you do. You will lend to many nations, but you will never need to borrow from them. You will listen to these commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today, and if you carefully obey them, the Lord will make you the head and not the tail. You will always be on top and never at the bottom. You must never turn away from any of the commands I am giving you today, nor follow after other gods and worship them.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now, me personally, yes, there are blessings, and yes, there is, again, I love the point that Dave made. There is my responsibility in that. I want to be on that side, because in verse 16, then it gives a list of curses, which I don't want to be part of. I've kind of been in part of those, and I don't want to be a part of those ever again. But there we go. But with that, I'm really humbled and thankful for the things that seeking out God's heart and his will, and him kind of wooing me and luring me closer to him. I'm thankful for the things that I've received in that time. But I'm also very thankful for the ones that are still yet to come. I have no idea what they are. I mean, for example, I have a salvation, my kids, but there's also times where there were auto accidents that there's no way I should have walked away from. There's no way that my vehicle should have been saved. And I'm just like, only he could do that. Only he could do that. So we're to have the covenant blessing of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the great inheritance. But then we also have the covenant blessing of Jesus, which is the covering of his blood, and then which makes us heir to that throne, which is pretty amazing that we all get to sit at the right hand of that and join him at that table. So going through, really it goes back to sometimes our words, but in those times when we're emotional and our feelings are trying to take over, as we've meditated on what he says about us and what we're speaking, that our words are to be there and give us that reminder that we are blessed and we are thankful for just things that we have, like a dog that's not going to eat the food off the table. That's why she's in here. She's trying to hide that she's probably in there snacking.
I've been watching her.
Okay, good. Somebody has to babysit her. And then we are blessed to be a blessing to others. And another question I'm going to ask is, what are some ways that you see you can be, or that you are a blessing to others? For me, was my servantness, servitude. What do you call that, Dave?
Servant's heart.
Servanthood.
Servanthood.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mine's that I get to pray for all of my clients. Like every time before I even go into a house, I ask for peace to come over the house, and actually last Wednesday was a case in point. The family, the stay-at-home mom, and she has a 16-year-old daughter, and she's been sneaking out at night, and she's been smoking pot and different things. And as I'm cleaning her house, I'm just, praying for her and praying for the mom, and, just for peace to reign over them. And when I left that night, she sent me a text, and she's like, "Thank you so much." She's like, "I can tell my house has been prayed over." And it just it was just another, oh, okay, God, I hear, I see, I know what I'm supposed to do every time. So, I mean, for me, that's just one thing that I can do for others, is just to pray.
Yeah.
And I have quite a few clients that message me, "Can you pray for me for this?"
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So I am with the teens also. They know they can call me and I'll be, right there to pray for them. And the parents come up to me and all the time, Miss Mags, you know, we need prayer. So and so's doing this, doing that, getting bullied at school or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, okay, Lord. Wow, here we go. I'm getting my prayer into motion here. I mean, I've got people on Facebook that'll even come and hey, send me a message. Hey, can you pray for me? Okay, here we go. You know. So yeah,
And that's important. That is, prayer's the biggest part into seeing His workings in the future there. That, you know, we are blessed as we bless others. It blesses God, and you'll find that in Numbers 14:8.
Sorry, I had to swallow.
That's okay. No, let everybody get there. So Numbers chapter 14, verse 8.
And if the Lord is pleased with us, He will bring us safely into that land and give it to us. It is a rich land flowing with milk and honey.
So as we're following Him, following His, and being obedient to Him, also through that, though, the Lord, I believe, finds the delight in the prosperity of His servants, which is us, who is doing His will or His works that He's asked us to do. And I take that from Psalms 35:27. Are you over here protecting me?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
But give great joy to those who came to my defense. Let them continually say, great is the Lord, who delights in blessing His servants with peace.
Yeah. And as we ourselves are being able to be blessed and we are blessing others, Luke 6:38 tells us really what happens next when we give with that generous heart.
Hang on, I'm trying to find it. There we go.
Yes.
It's hidden. I do. 6:38.
6:38. Yes.
It says, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back.
So, which really brings us to the next part of the devotional, as in of having that good report. We'll find it on page, was it 40?
41.
41. Awesome. So, as we've talked about, you know, we are blessed, and the little foxes and controlling them. So I just imagine coming down off the high of the overflowing abundance that seems like, I think Pastor Allen and a couple of the messages I've heard this week of just His goodness. And sometimes we get complacent of everything is going so good, and then it seems like something trips us up. Mm-hmm. And we just get stuck back in that rut of the past, or just rut of the mundane. And I don't know, something triggers it. I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. Seems like, whether it's a song, a comment somebody made, it's a picture, it's somebody posted something, or just life happened and kids lost their minds, and because they get cabin fever.
Mm-hmm.
But now it seems like we're just reminiscing on the past of, you know, we messed up, or somebody criticized me. Like, we go to work and you just continually see that person of how maybe they embarrassed you in the meeting, or there's just that discomfort, and you go, oh, if only on that day, if I would have just thought of, or if I would have just said, or if I would have just walked away maybe instead of saying. But it's in those that's not where we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be stuck in that rut. We're not supposed to continually looking back, or yes, those pains are going to come up, but it's how you react to those. And we're to really be focusing on the Creator, and not so always the creation in the dark world that we live in, or that we lived in, because we are the light in the world, and we're supposed to shine that everywhere. But as we are to renew our minds to not go back to that. And Romans 12:2 states that
It says, and do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Yeah, that as we continually put his thoughts and his word, his plans deep inside of us, into our heart, into our soul, into our minds, that Isaiah 55:8 also goes into how we're to change our thoughts and how it changes our perspective.
My thoughts are nothing like your thoughts, says the Lord, and my ways are far beyond anything you could imagine.
So, again, it's how we feel sometimes is not always how we're supposed to handle those problems. That we're supposed to go to him and seek his word, or take what we've learned already as we've drawn closer to him and have that reaction, have that response. For our thoughts are also our words, because I've found that the things I think about of my kids are just making me mad, my kids are never behaving, and the next thing I know, I'm saying, you guys are rotten, you're spoiled, you don't ever behave. And sure enough, I get that. My kids are, over and over, they're not behaving, they're acting out, versus where when I stop and go, I just love you, and it was an accident, or I just love you, and it's how we learn from the problem, or learn from the mistake or the accident, that then they see that it's okay to have those. It's then how you react to it. Like, for instance, tonight, I'll use Legina. She's helping set up, and I went to turn the knob on my oven, and it broke. She's like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay. She's like, what do we do? I reached over, just grabbed another knob that was on my stovetop and put it on there. It works just fine. I'm like, it's not a big deal. She's like, I'm so sorry, I'll get you a new one. I'm like, what's to get a new one of? It's okay. Versus where I could have been super mad knowing it's an older model, can't get those anymore.
Simpson and Dabney, you can get it.
Can you get what?
Can you just speak it? Are you okay?
Yeah. So it's really how we handle those problems. And as we change our thoughts and our words, God also wants, just to speak of those things that are pure and of truth and honesty. And you'll find in Philippians 4:8 on the Amplified.
I've got it. I got it pulled up on my phone.
Okay.
Finally, believers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable and worthy of respect, whatever is right and confirmed by God's word, whatever is pure and wholesome, whatever is lovely and brings peace, whatever is admirable and of good repute, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think continually on these things. Center your mind on them and implant them in your heart.
Yes. So in my Amplified, when I study out of quite a bit, I've marked in there that to put think in front of all of that. Think, is it wholesome? Think, is it of excellence? Think, is it pure? Think, is it lovely? Or is it lovable? Is it a virtue? That to me is big. Is it of excellence? Gracious. I'm not always big or working on being able to vocalize my appreciation of people who help me, or again, my husband, who he puts up with a lot. He doesn't have to, and I believe he shouldn't, but he does. And in that, I have to think about his behaviors when I want to go, he didn't do that right, and he wasn't home on time, and he didn't. Well, wait, what did I do? Did I I didn't get the dishes done, or the laundry wasn't quite folded and put away. He could be all tore up about that. Instead, he gives me that grace. So I have to stop, and I think, what I'm saying about him, is it of excellence? Is it of love? Is it of giving that grace that we talked about earlier, that forgiveness? And really, we're supposed to call things as though they are. And so as we intentionally meditate on his word, whether it's the Project 345 or another maybe Bible study you do, a devotional. I did this one for the 60 days, and it really changed my viewpoint, changed really my focus, as well as the time I was also doing some counseling, which was a huge help and benefit. And really focusing on what he says about us, that we are whole, we are his children, and he's going to love us unconditionally. And so as we continually draw near to his ways, and we start recognizing that our view and our outlook has changed for the better, I find that I had a hope that wasn't there before. And that's huge. That I then, and we start to share with that new hope, the good news of the change, and then how our report has changed versus the kids are sick, the car is broke, the dishwasher doesn't work, now the car is repaired, it runs great, the kids are healthy as could be, they're healthier than they were, the dishwasher's amazing, or maybe you find washing dishes by hand therapeutic. I do sometimes. I'm like,
When it,
I think you
that then others notice that change, and then I learned to realize that then others will want what we have. We have that peace, and we have just that grace to not breeze through things or troubles or situations, but how we handle them makes a big difference. And people recognize that of, well, that should just upset you to no end. I'm like, why? Why is it going to bother me when I've prayed about it? I went, God, you're in control, and I've given it to you. And by that, we really start sharing that hope, which then we are making that conscious decision, that free will that he's given us to always choose him. And that obviously is life-changing, because each and every one of us has chosen him at some point in our life. Now, we may not have always followed him, because I haven't. I found him at 13, 14, was saved, baptized, and my parents weren't great at attending church, so I fell off that wagon pretty hard. It was a rough road getting back on it and finding it again. But when you do make that strong conscious decision to choose him, it really is that life-changing moment. But there's also just the life change as you go forward, because I have a family who doesn't attend church the way I do, and don't study or read the Bible the way I do, and it seems to bother them, because they go, well, you did, or this happened, and they're all upset, and I just go, okay, well, how are you gonna fix it? And that just drives them nuts. It does, because they're like, you should just be in tears, and you should go get a loan and try to do this and that. And I go, I don't need that, because I was told to prepare for it before, or I was led to prepare, or something happened that I had the backing for it when I needed it up here. So in that of the choosing you, which is our next section, and making that choice, we try to stay going down the path of goodness, and as we go down that, we try to stay going down the path of goodness, which we seem to enjoy. But sometimes we want to follow the trail of deceit and deception, which then we forfeit, seems like, other things on the other side of it. Yes, we can't and we don't always control our circumstances, but what we do control is our reactions, as we just kind of talked about. And faith is the substance of things hoped for. So if you're in doubt that, maybe God is working for you and in your favor, I believe you're correct. I believe you are. That I think Henry Ford says that if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right, because you've already made up your mind that you're just going to either see the negative in it, or you're going to see the positive on the situation and the outcome. And if you are doubting, you're not in faith. You're not in his obedience or his guidance in some way that faith and fear can't be in the same space at the same time. So when you're not in faith, you're delaying, or maybe you've kind of created a hiccup in that miracle or that appointment you had coming because you chose to go the other way. You chose to go with the deceit versus what looked pretty on the deceit side may have looked a little bit rough, but the harder path sometimes is what we have to take. Because I guess if it was easy, everybody would do it. At least for me, maybe it's just me. I'm rebellious, I'm stubborn, I'm hard-headed. I admit it. And as we've talked about, a lot with our words, Deuteronomy 30:19, the author puts it in a great way of just describing our words and what we speak. So Deuteronomy 30:19, and then we're also going to read out of the book.
Today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live.
Yes. So with that, our author puts it that my mouth can be a deep, dark well of defeat or a refreshing spring of life. It all depends on how I choose to use it. I guess that's why you tell me to choose life on purpose, because it won't happen any other way. Death and life are in the power of my tongue, so I need to choose life, especially when it's so tempting to just gripe about the situation instead of believing you for the best. For if I don't stand in faith, who will stand in faith for me? For I need to continually think faith thoughts and speak faith words. Now she makes that again tied to Deuteronomy the 30:19, but also she makes a very bold statement as to that either I believe his word, she puts it this way, either I believe in you and your word, or I don't. To me that's a little harsh, but it's bold, because you can't just go pick and choose, I believe, parts of the Bible and going, I'm going to believe this little bit, but I'm not going to believe that. I just take everything because it's written in here. Yes, it's written by man, but he had them put it in here for a reason. And I can't tell you all the reasons, but there's a purpose and a reason for it. And through that, though, 1 Timothy 6:12 goes along with that statement that either I'm believing all of your word or I'm not. Go for it.
Fight the good fight for the true faith. Hold tightly to the eternal life to which God has called you, which you have declared so well before many witnesses.
Yes. So you don't have to answer it out loud, but something to really think about and to pray about is, what choices are we making? Are we making life choices, or are we making choices of the curses? Are we choosing death? But as we make that choice, 2 Corinthians 10:5, I found that it gave me guidance, or it helps give me guidance in making that decision. 2 Corinthians 10:5.
We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ.
So, for me, I have to consciously make the thought, or go through the thought process. Is it wholesome? Is it good? Is it godly? Or in those times of even choosing God, am I just being emotional? Am I being fleshly, or am I carnal? Or am I just want to being defying and rebellious? Do I not want to do something because it's going to make a point? Sometimes making that point is not worth kind of having to go back and go, I'm sorry, forgive me. I'll try again harder. But the choice really is ours, and it's the free will that He's given us. But the battle sometimes we're fighting isn't ours. It's His. It's in the spiritual battle, and it's supposed to be God's. And if you've read the back of the book, it says we win. And 1 Peter 5:7 still tells us that we win.
Give all your worries and cares to God, for He cares about you.
Let's see if I have it amplified better.
I have it.
You have that one?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I read it. Okay, let me.
Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Be alert and sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour.
Yes. It says he prowls around like a roaring lion. Not saying he is the roaring lion. That he's just over there squawking his mouth, just making noise, kind of like Wolfie does, because some stranger shows up in my house. But she's absolutely harmless. Like my kids, Cadence falls all over her, tugs on her ears, yanks her tail, drags her around the house on the leash, makes her wear silly capes and tutus. But she just goes, okay, I'm going to be a little lenient as you drag me around the house, but he doesn't have that command and that control over us. Because God's already won. The enemy can't really touch us. Again, you read the back of the book. If you haven't, read it. It says we win. If we go today, you do whatever, we still win because we get to go be with Jesus. And choosing Him continually. Sometimes it's one time a day because the day goes great, or sometimes I have those rough days and I have to choose Him multiple times during the day because I just go, I can't do this. I know I didn't pray when I got up. I'm sorry. But it's kind of like the domino effect. It's just continually in those times that you just go, I'm choosing you because in the end, there's something greater. In the end, there's still something better on the other side. So I'm going to not give in to the past. I'm not going to give in to the enemy. I have to just keep continually looking forward, seeking the Creator, not the creation, because that creation right now is in a dark world. So, with that, we'll go ahead and call that an evening, and we'll go ahead and close in prayer. Anybody would like to close us out? Is Ashley? Oh,
Ashley wants to.
Ashley? Okay.
Father God, we thank you for joining us here again for another week of great food, Lord God, for our souls, for our minds, for our week ahead, Lord God. We thank you for each and every family and person gathered here, Lord God. And we thank you that we've opened our hearts and our souls to this teaching, Lord God, for you to do with it within us what you will, Father God. And I just thank you for Miss Katie just submitting to you and giving you the glory in this time. And we thank you that you'll keep us safe as we travel home, and we'll return here next week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, if you have kids, I believe they're out back. Please take them home with you and take them home.